thinking about lately?
What?
How much I want that Annie's cashew sauce
Yeah?
that is on those vegan frozen meals they have. That we keep some on hand because sometimes they're just easier for a quick lunch, right?
But like just the sauce so that we can put it on stuff?
I don't understand why that cashew sauce is so delicious. And like, are there recipes for it? I don't think it's not a thing.
Yeah, I don't.
That exists. It's
I don't
just,
know.
This one company makes this really delicious cashew sauce, puts it on their frozen dinners of all things, and it's like, well, all right.
If you know how to make a cashew sauce that is good on noodles and stir-fried veggies,
feel free to let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah,
we will try it.
I'm a
probably.
firm believer of peanut sauce on stir-fried noodles, but I'd be willing to branch out some more. Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. It was just on my mind.
Yeah.
I think we're here. Behind him, the superior filled with the portative organ. People were bowing to the bishop and kissing his ring gently. I realized that I had failed to properly greet him in this manner when I first entered the room and quickly joined the line. How far gone was I to forget how to address my betters? It had only been a few short weeks since I had left my cell, after all. I was standing behind Catherine in line. Catherine, who had just looked in as with everyone else and said something to Margaret. After they saw the, I know that was last time, but like, a little subtle thing. They were also the two that were called out by name by the soup, and who declined to join them in the chapel earlier because they had more important things to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's up with those two. Darcy was speaking to the bishop ahead of us. She scarcely had to stoop to plant her lips on the ring, and she did so without saying anything. Catherine stepped up as Darcy glided away.
Oh, Katerina, my darling. You look healthy? Wait. Oh, Katerina, my darling. You look healthy.
So this Bishop Richard is related to Catherine's, or knows some of what happened, or...
Mm-hmm.
Let's play out a bit more before I start speculating.
Place has done you some good, hasn't it?
I can't complain.
The bishop chuckled and wagged a finger at her before extending his hand for her to kiss. She bent low and took his hand in hers as she planted her lips on the golden band. She stepped away. I walked up to the bishop hesitantly, expecting to be admonished. So, addresses Catherine by a familiar name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, either definitely knows the situation surrounding her. This place has done you some good. Don't know if we know enough to know if he's part of her old family or whatnot, but...
Someone had to pull strings to get her into a convent rather than in jail.
That is true.
Does her family have influence within the church or something? Is this bishop like part of their family or indebted
or just someone
to their
under
family?
their influence?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, okay. There is a connection there, but we don't know what it is yet.
Can't say I've ever had this happen before.
This is a first for both of us, Your Excellency.
Indeed.
He chuckled. I was not joking. He held out his hand. My lips felt dry in the cool air of the chapel, but even in my sorry state, I could not let myself wet them with my tongue in front of this man. I bent down to kiss the ring. As soon as my mouth touched the metal, I realized I had no idea what to do. I bounced off awkwardly. I stood back up to face the bishop, hoping that it had not been unpleasant an experience for him as it had been for me. He simply smiled and waved me off.
Ah, Margaret. How have you been faring?
It is complicated, Your Excellency.
He also knows Margaret as well.
Maybe he just knows everybody by name here.
Yeah, that makes it put into perspective. Like, is he just familiar with all the nuns here? I had originally thought, like, addressing Catherine by a more familiar name would indicate, like, that he knew her personally before things happened. It might be the reason she got put in a monastery instead of put in jail or hung. But, no, if he knows Margaret's name, too, then, Then again, Margaret also did grow up in the area, so I don't know. I don't know how much we can take from this. I moved out of earshot and took a seat next to Moira. She had eagerly scooted to the aside to accommodate me as soon as she saw me leaving the line to greet the bishop. Everyone was seated eventually, all save for the superior and the bishop. The bishop stood off to the side of the altar as the superior adjusted her instrument. She cleared her throat and addressed the chapel.
Hello, everyone. I don't mean to keep you all waiting, but I am experiencing some problems with the organ.
She pressed a few keys. The portative wheezed and sputtered, but did not produce whatever sound the superior was hoping for.
Did Catherine and Margaret, is that what Catherine was whispering about earlier? Had they, messed around? Someone had mentioned at some point sabotaging the
Yeah, they had
portative.
sabotaged it way back the previous time she was going to bring out the portative organ. Is it just still broken?
Yeah.
Well...
She began to play a tune. The instrument was not up to the task.
One more try. Perhaps if I
could feel Moira shrinking in her seat next to me.
Oh, no. There we are. La.
Oh, was she just having trouble with, not the bellows, but the, Is it a bellows? You mentioned that a portative organ has something similar to that. Or
yeah, I believe they're powered by a bellows.
By a bellows. So was she just having issue with that then? Okay. Oh, just very poor sabotage.
That was a good sound effect.
That was a very good sound effect.
There was an echoing clunk as something inside the contraption shifted. Miraculously, the organ sputtered to life. A hushed voice from behind startled me.
It could have been much worse, believe me.
Some very Godspeed.
She's trying her best.
I do not wish to be unkind, so I will simply say that I am grateful that the superior shared her passion with us with such enthusiasm. I was going to say, she's not even singing in tune with what she's playing.
I love that we got full audio for that, including the weak applause at the end.
Yeah, it was
that's
really
so good.
When the performance finally ended, there was a smattering of applause. The superior gave her audience an odd little curtsy in response. The bishop awakened with a jolt and hastily started clapping with us. Oh. I looked over at Moira, who was smiling sheepishly. She stood up as the clapping died down, and I tucked in my knees to let her pass. She walked up to the altar to speak to the superior, clearly offering some congratulations directly. Is that what she's doing?
I don't know.
The voice from behind muttered in my ear again.
We're all getting together to throw a real celebration in the cellars later tonight.
Another voice whispered in my other ear.
Much later tonight. Midnight, in fact.
Okay. So, I don't know how much to make about this. We know that, she probably looked behind her at some point and knows who's sitting there, but it's been established that Hedwig can't tell apart people by their voice alone, right?
I don't know that we've established it in the way that you're thinking.
More that she wasn't able to do so after leaving. She wasn't able to attach anyone who she had spoken with to their face.
Yeah.
And voice then. But as she's talking to people now and seeing them day after day. Okay, you're right. That's probably a silly thing to worry about. All right. Objection retracted.
I shuddered. Catherine was the last person I wanted to spend the time with after midnight, but I wasn't sure refusal was an option from the tone of their voices.
Oh, really?
What sort of celebration?
Your feast day, of course, but also a proper wake for Sister Catherine II. Sending off the old chronicler and welcoming the new one properly.
With a gulp, I nodded slowly. That's a lot of celebrating for one day, but
That's the spirit. You'll manage. You will come, correct?
Yes.
Hedwig thinks they're gonna murder her, and they're literally just gonna give her wine and be like,
Right?
"Get drunk with us, friend."
I hope so. I hope that's what happens. But she does seem to be framing it as not having a choice, which is...
She also has tremendous social anxiety in every single one of these scenes in this day.
I know. I'm just at some point that's going to be used to mask a fact. At some point, our assumption that Hedwig is experiencing these things because she is simply socially awkward is going to be used to disguise something more sinister from us.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got to remain vigilant for that and not get complacent about saying every single instance is just Hedwig is awkward.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm getting at. Although she is very awkward.
I heard the two of them stand up. Catherine with a K patted me on the shoulder and squeezed hard. Her nails dug into my skin through my robe for just an instant.
I'm looking forward to it.
I was not enjoying this new relationship that had evolved between Catherine with a K and myself. In retrospect, I wonder if our shared secret was driving her to attempt to be earnestly friendly with me in her own unique way. But I think it is equally as likely that she was taking some kind of sick pleasure in taunting me. Even though I knew of her liaison, were I the kind of woman to spread rumors, what I knew of her liaison, were I the kind of woman to spread rumors, surely had her in check.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Reading is hard. Has anyone ever told you that? This is the hardest video game I've ever played.
As I left the chapel, I noticed Angela standing outside, waiting for me. My heart sank. I might have opted for another hour of portative organ recital over this meeting.
The superior says we should have this discussion ourselves.
The rest of the sisters passed us by. Once they were out of earshot, Angela continued.
She is busy and trusts me to get what I need out of you.
And it might be suspicious if all three of us started taking meetings with her in the office.
Yes, if I had not just explained the exact reasoning to you already, that would be a reasonable guess. Shall we walk?
Lead the way. She turned around and set off down the path to the garden.
Tell me what you know.
There's really not much to tell yet.
You've had almost 3 weeks. What have you been doing?
Well, I've had to adjust to a new life, and I've been doing my utmost not to raise suspicions.
I must confess, I do not understand why it has taken you so long to adjust, as you put it.
Okay, well, I think we've already also established that everyone is radically underestimating just how much of a toll this takes on Hedwig.
Yep. The way the superior told it to me, you positively jumped at the chance to leave your cell. That's part of why?
That's...
That is not true. She turned to me, incredulous.
Really now?
I was practically forced out. I would have much rather stayed. Why would I willingly break such a sacred vow? One that I had held for almost 20 years.
Interesting. So Angela's gotten her off guard enough now for her to admit this publicly.
To her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
And at this point, Hedwig does believe that Angela is in on this conspiracy. And to be perfectly fair, the superior has given her no reason to believe otherwise.
Yep.
Like, if the soup was trying to pull like some 4D chess, like we're gonna let her in on the conspiracy, but not really let her in.
She said so.
She would have had to have like primed Hedwig for that, right? That's not something you just spring on someone and expect them, especially Hedwig.
Yep.
And especially her to know how to play along. I think at this point, it is clear the soup has brought in Angela for maybe other reasons, but has brought her in, and Hedwig can trust at least that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It is true that I was moved by the superior's cause, but if there was any way I could have helped out without leaving my cell, I would have chosen it. I imagined an alternate path. One where I maintained my life as an anchoress while the superior brought me information to judge impartially, and became very, very angry with myself. If I had fought for myself, perhaps I could have solved this ghastly crime and not had my life's work thrown away.
Interesting.
Do you believe me?
I can certainly see the superior glossing over some details in her zeal.
Is that the first time we've seen her not with her angry resting... is this the first time we've seen her without her resting bitch face?
Maybe.
Oh, Anna's back. She heard me through the fourth wall.
She had already unlocked my door by the time I had a chance to protest.
That does sound like her. Impulsive, bullheaded. No wonder she has such a fascination with Catherine's death.
Do you not share that interest? Did Catherine with a C earn some scorn somehow?
Catherine earned plenty of scorn, but that's not what I meant. I just mean that despite all their differences, she and Catherine shared a similar distaste for simple answers.
It felt very strange talking to Angela this candidly. I would not describe her as being any more friendly than usual. In fact, her attitude was putting my teeth on edge, but at the very least, it was more of a real conversation than I was used to having with her. So you still think that James did it, correct? Even after the Superior explained everything?
Yes, I do.
Because we haven't shared our...
Oh.
That being said, perhaps there's something you can tell me that would change my mind. Hence why I asked you to tell me everything you knew several minutes ago, I think.
Well, I wouldn't know where to begin. I'm not even sure what I've seen or heard that would count as any sort of clue or hint.
Why not start by telling me the strangest things you've seen first?
Hedwig, you could just straight up tell her Catherine was fucking James. Even if you don't want to tell the soup, right? For whatever reason. At this point, I almost wonder, like... As graceless as it would be to say, it would be exonerating an innocent man and saving the life of someone who... Right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess... Why wouldn't... I know she's given us her reasoning for it, but like... Really?
And I'll decide what is pertinent and what is typical Lynn Barrow oddness.
Typical Lynn Barrow oddness.
In that case, the absolute most out of place thing I've seen is, realize how ridiculous this might sound, but it was the thing weighing on my mind the heaviest.
Go on.
I saw a ghost. Or perhaps even a demon. And at any rate, an apparition of some sort.
I can't imagine why the Superior has summoned my help in this matter. I had heard that your ghost situation was an elaborate prank. No? One of Eustace's little dress-up games?
That's what everyone thinks, but...
You did not see a ghost. Let us move on. Tell me something else.
I really did, though. Eustace can account for one of the visitations I remember, but...
Please take this seriously, Hedwig. I do not have time for folktales, and I definitely do not want to waste my time on this already spurious investigation being played for a fool.
Is the game gonna catch us back on this somehow? Is the game already taking into account us being like, oh, we're gonna dismiss any fanciful things we see as Hedwig's visions? Is it already taking that into account and about to turn it back on us?
I don't know.
What do you think we know, game? What level are you operating on here? You fascinate me.
If this is an extension of some practical joke, please drop it. Tell me something else.
I promise you, this is no joke. I saw the same figure a few other times outside my cell window on the second floor of the cloister.
The same figure? So she's already assumed that that's the same person.
Yeah.
But it's just a...
In fact, when I bumped into you on that first day, I joined the congregation. I was running up to try to see who it was. Angela let out a deep, almost rattling sigh.
It was Eustace. She did the same infantile act in the Misericorde later. No?
Yes, but she swears that time outside my window wasn't her.
So she's lying.
And she swears the ghost in the hallway was her, but I saw her not minutes later. In her night clothes, no less. In fact, the only person I didn't see on the landing after that incident was... you. She shot me a look so piercing I physically recoiled.
I was, blissfully, already fast asleep while all of that nonsense was occurring.
My shrieking didn't wake you up?
No, it did not, and if you are really insinuating that I am your prime suspect, this would be quite a precarious situation for you, wouldn't it?
She glared at me meaningfully as my head whipped around in a panic, realizing how utterly alone we were in the garden. I looked back at her in dismay and had nearly screamed when I saw what she had produced in her hands while I had been looking away. You!
If I were a murderer who felt you were on my trail, I could have punctured your neck silently whenever I liked, as soon as we passed behind the hedgerows.
What the fuck, Angela, is up with you?
She idly held the knife out and pressed the flat side of the blade under my chin, tilting my head upward to forcibly meet her gaze. We stayed locked like that for just a moment before she finally retracted her hand.
I jest. I carry this for self-defense.
Why do you feel you need self-defense in a monastery? It's not bears.
Somebody just fucking died.
Okay, that is reasonable. Although she did have the story about the bear, but yeah, I guess somebody did just die.
That's some joke.
I thought it was rather amusing.
She twirled the little dagger in her hands idly. Where did you get that?
I've had it for years, a keepsake from my old convent. I thought I had lost it ages ago, but I'm glad to have found it again recently.
Ooh, so it wasn't in her possession up until recently. Interesting.
It helps me feel safer in troubled times such as these.
And I guess if we want to be like, I don't know how much we want to take for this, but yeah, she could have straight up just stabbed Hedwig right there.
Yep.
And probably could have gotten away with it. So, if she really is the culprit, I don't see why I don't see her being the culprit and making that same decision without some very strange and esoteric extenuating circumstance we don't know about.
Yep.
But James is locked up in the hospitalum.
Your point?
Well, if you're still feeling unsafe, then perhaps deep down you know it could have been someone else.
I doubt James is the only pervert who lurks around Linbarrow Tor.
I see. Is that why you've agreed to help the Superior, then? You think there's someone else out there?
Possibly.
Her eyes narrowed. My tone was incredulous, at least incredulous as I could sound while as nervous as I was, and she could see it. She let out a short, sharp sigh, and then took a step closer toward me. I had always been wary of Angela, but I assumed she was personally unpleasant, shall we say, at the very worst. This outright malice she radiated, twirling a dagger between her fingers, was repellent to me. Oh, she's actually twirling it. I don't know if that's Hedwig embellishing, but like, take some dexterity to do. You have to have a dagger around and in your hands a lot to learn how to do that. You know what you don't just casually pick up a dagger for self-defense and immediately learn how to twirl it between your fingers.
Yep.
What will you do when we find who really killed Catherine with the sea?
Let me be perfectly clear. I firmly believe I have already found the man who really killed Catherine. I've stated it many times and will continue to state it, but I am open to investigating the matter closer, if only to prove that I am correct. I found him skulking around not far from the cloister after Sister Charity found the body.
Charity found the body, right.
On her morning walk, yes, the Superior did tell me that much.
Morning walk? Charity does not take morning walks, at least no further than the cloister.
At least no further than the cloister.
I guess it's not... Well, what on earth do you mean? Of course she does. Angela let out another sigh, not as short and sharp this time, but filled with a sort of sympathetic condescension. She put her arms behind her back and began to walk again, leading me through the hedges.
I really must press you for every last little detail now. More than anything else, I can help you find inconsistencies and lies. Do not take this the wrong way, but you are rather credulous. I do not mean to be insulting. It's to be expected of someone who spent 20 years locked up in a little room. My quarrel is with the Superior, not you.
If this was how Angela treated people she had no quarrel with, I dreaded to imagine how she argued with people who she did. I began to wonder if the Superior had ever seen Angela's knife come out.
Charity does not take morning walks. She is too old and too fat for that sort of thing. The furthest she walks in the morning is from the dorm to the chairs she and Marta share.
I guess I would consider that a morning walk.
It is a walk in the morning, I suppose, but I do not think that is the image meant to be conjured by that phrasing. Charity would very much like the superior, or whoever she tells her story to believe that she exercises rigorously.
This has absolutely nothing to do with Catherine with the C's murder.
No, it doesn't. But I think it makes for a good object lesson. People lie constantly. It is practically a reflex for most of the women
Okay,
here.
so the game's like clone is gonna be like, you need to be taking into account what people are saying and who's saying what and why they're saying it.
Yep.
Right. What's that old saw? Can't neglect the heart.
Yep. Has Catherine recounted her story to you?
I very quickly tried to remember exactly what I could say to Angela in response without anchoring Catherine. I was making too many enemies. She told me that she was forced out of Lindbarrow Village because of politics or some such.
Not a lie, but certainly an obfuscation. Catherine was accused of murdering her husband.
I did my best to feign surprise. Oh, my goodness! Did she really do it?
In truth, I don't believe so, but she doesn't like to talk about it either way.
I imagine it must be very hurtful to discuss, especially if it was a false accusation.
Yes, which is why I relented, finally, after arguing with the superior for long enough. As sure as I am that James is the culprit, I must admit that the prospect of being wrong haunts me.
I spoke to James. He is in a lot of pain, similar pain, I think.
Have
we considered the possibility that James and Catherine were in cahoots?
Could be.
I don't think we ever officially put that on the table, but like I guess like just to be tidy, we should, just dot I's and cross T's.
We completed a loop of the garden. Angela doubled back and I followed. Neither of us spoke as we made our way back between the flower bushes. Angela appeared deep in thought, and I was hopeful that I could find an excuse to take my leave as soon as possible. However, she finally stopped and began to recount the facts she had organized in her head as we walked. I was stuck listening.
Charity found Catherine in the cloister, beheaded, next to the murder weapon. She alerted the superior, whose office I was in at the time, as we had spent the whole night arguing about the various issues around the abbey. When I left the office, I ran into Eustace coming up from the cellars, and told her to rouse the rest of the sisters and search the west side. I myself immediately began a search of the grounds east of the cloister, while the superior comforted Charity.
Eustace have a reason to be in the cellars in the morning?
I don't know. I found James skulking away from the abbey, and Darcy discovered his bloodied cloak not far from his cart. That is the story, as meticulously detailed as I can tell it. Now, have you heard or seen anything that contradicts those events or casts new light upon them?
I mean, we have the obvious thing that we're not saying for some fucking reason. Is there anything else the two of them claim that he didn't have a cloak, which admittedly, if they were both culprits, that could be a reason for it. Is there anything else that's her version of events? The only other thing that seems suspicious to me is why is Eustace coming up from the cellars in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
We've never seen her in the cellars before. Usually she spends her time in her either with Darcy or in the library. Charity on her morning constitutional, let's be generous. That's fine. That's like within... Angela seems to think that Charity going to the cloister is within expected boundaries.
Wait. Does Angela know this is Catherine's sword, not just Catherine's sword?
Angela, what if Hertz grounds used the cloister. Charity found Catherine in the cloister, beheaded next to the murder weapon.
Yeah, the murder weapon, which is not James's sword used to kill Catherine, but Catherine's sword used to kill Catherine. Does Angela know this?
I don't know if she knows this or not yet.
That's the other thing, aside from Catherine banging James, that we learned recently that seems to cast really interesting new light on events.
That she was killed with her own weapon. Yeah. Just so we're clear, you're talking about Catherine with a C's sword used to kill Catherine with a C.
Yep.
That's the only other thing that jumps out at... Yeah, that jumps out. Does Angela frequently spend the night with the superior in the office? You spent the whole night arguing? Is that... That... On the face of that, doesn't that sound unbelievable? That the superior wouldn't just be like, Angela, shut up and let's go to bed and talk about it in the morning?
Yeah, it really does.
Like, I don't... Like, obviously she's got a agenda in protecting herself here. I don't think we're meant to... I don't think she's the culprit, but she's definitely feels like she's probably obfuscating something there. Like, what circumstances would cause a discussion to go through? Like, I'm sure there are some, but which specific circumstances would cause you to spend the entire night arguing with the superior and not just have her be like, fucking, we'll deal with this in the morning. God damn it. Let me sleep. It's 4 a.m. Began to search of the grounds east of the cloister while the superior comforted chair. Why did you... Ran into Eustace... so you told Eustace to search the west side. Began to search the east side. Found James skulking away from the abbey to the east. Is Limbarrow to the east or the west?
I don't know. I don't think it's been brought up.
I feel like maybe it got brought up at some point. Like, I'm sure someone must have mentioned it, or we could figure it out from position of the sun. But if James was skulking away from the abbey toward the east... Yeah, I would. If someone in the comments knows or can deduce this, I can't do it live here on camera, obviously, but that would be an interesting detail if he's actually heading in the direction of the village, or not, or if that is an inconsistency for some reason. Darcy discovered the bloody cloak not far from. When did Darcy start looking?
Presumably after Eustace roused folks.
Roused the rest of the sisters and searched the west side. Yep. Okay, so that would involve getting Darcy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's everything of interest we can find in that particular version of events. I had to take a minute to rack my mind. I began to realize how real little investigating I had done. I suppose the mysterious figure doesn't count?
It does not.
Then, James claims he was not wearing his cloak when he delivered the mail that morning. That is something surely, and you said Darcy found his cloak on the west side of the abbey, yes?
I see what you're getting at.
Oh, that... I feel stupid now.
James was found on the east side, but his cloak was on the other end of the abbey by the front entrance.
Yes! Surely this proves he's telling the truth.
I remember it being particularly windy that day, as it often is here on the mountain.
Wait, he was sneaking away from the main entrance.
No? Maybe?
What? Hold on.
It just says that he was on the east.
Was on the other end of the abbey by the front entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way he was sneaking wasn't the front entrance.
I mean, he'd be sneaking away from it regardless.
Probably like
he's sneaking away from the abbey. So...
Okay, right. So we can't necessarily deduce anything from that. He was just trying to get out of eyesight so he could then circle back around and sneak back to town. Yeah, okay.
It is possible his cloak simply came loose as he attempted to make his escape.
Did
you see her shift her eyes for a moment there?
Yep. However, it is also possible it did not. Therefore we, must find a way to reconcile this discrepancy, one way or the other. Did James tell you anything that might help?
He said that Catherine with the K would be able to vouch for him. Angela looked at me with an oddly quizzical expression, and I quickly added some detail. Because he saw her in the library when he was delivering a letter.
I see. And has Catherine confirmed this?
Yes, but that wasn't enough for the superior when I told her.
Why not?
Because, well, I actually saw Catherine with the K and James speaking to each other. Quite recently, in fact.
Nonsense.
It is true. I followed her out into the hills one night.
There's no way to explain this without explaining what actually happens, unless Hedwig is just about to condemn Catherine to death now. There's no way to explain this while keeping Catherine secret, Hedwig.
Yeah, you gotta...
Say what's up.
I wonder if this is eventually going to come up with... I get that it has some, meaning to Hedwig to like not keep secrets, but again, life and death. This is making it worse for Catherine if you're not gonna speak up and tell the whole thing here. Like, she would rather be known as someone who's getting some rather than someone who is suspected of being a
She's already suspected of being a murderer, and it already sucks for her.
Yeah, I think.
I don't think she wants to get executed for another one that she didn't do.
Unless they're both in cahoots.
Yeah.
I did not know it was her at first, but we crossed paths when she returned. Unfortunately, I didn't overhear exactly what they spoke about.
You followed Catherine all the way out to the hospitality.
Yes.
All by yourself.
Yes, Angela's eyebrows were liable to disappear underneath her white cap.
And here I was, thinking you always refused to take the initiative. The Superior neglected to inform me of that particular wrinkle.
I'm starting to think I may have accidentally made Catherine with a K the Superior's top suspect.
I must admit, it might make her mine. If I entertained the idea that it was not James, at least.
You think her story is tainted because of it?
It is hard to imagine a scenario where the two can be taken at their word alone. Which, I am afraid, puts us in stalemate.
The Superior sent me down to the village to see what the general opinion about Catherine with a K's old murder case was. She wanted me to judge how believable the idea of Catherine with a K killing someone actually was.
What nonsense.
Yeah, that did feel like nonsense.
It did feel a little bit, aimless. I'm not particularly used to the public.
No, I mean, that's not why she sent you down to the village. She sent you all down there so the rest of the sisters could work on your feast.
That's
a waste of time and a rather tasteless way to treat a very serious matter. I agree.
I had guessed the others had certainly made use of my absence to prepare a surprise, but the idea that the entire trip had been a frivolous exercise had me seething. All that anguish for nothing. Yeah,
I know we've already laid out reasons why we don't think the soup is the culprit, but goddamn, she is not. She loves to lie details and not be. She's being very sloppy.
Yep.
In how she's managing her little conspiracy here. And even if she's not the culprit, that kind of lackadaisical attitude kind of contrasts with her desire to assure justice be done, right? I gotta wonder what her actual motive is.
I don't know. It seems to match up with how everyone's described her, right?
Yeah, but when we're talking with Angela here, we're both getting different versions of the same kind of, where the soup is omitting certain details or not giving the full version of events to the people she has in her conspiracy trying to figure out a murder. That feels sloppy. That feels like you don't actually want to solve it. Your goal is something else.
I don't know. I don't think that it requires anything to explain beyond what we already know about the Superior, which is that she's headstrong, bull in a china shop, thinks she knows what the right answer is, and is out the gates doing whatever it takes to find it, whether or not what she's doing makes sense or is the best way to do it.
She has a very high opinion of her own abilities in the matter. And
yep. Think for example, of she thinks everybody is stoked for her musical performance when she is completely incapable of performing in key and no one likes it.
Does she think that? I thought we
explicitly
learned that. No. Because remember, she played the whole thing when she was getting us to meet with Angela and the bishop in the chapel, was it?
Mm-hmm.
She started that by saying, "Hey, Catherine and Margaret, you want to join us in there?" Trusting that none of them would want to do it and that Margaret would try to pull them away. She even said afterwards, when we got there, I thought that was enough of a cover, knowing that they're not actually into it. She's aware of the reputation
Okay, I didn't get that. I thought it was just, I knew they weren't going to come help out with this voluntary thing.
Oh,
but
I took it to be more that she is aware of how people feel about her performances, but yeah, I guess.
Or her interaction with the bishop as well, where it's just
I will be able to do it. History will vindicate me.
And where he's just I'm going to do my best to keep you from getting excommunicated, but you're going to have to give me some really good answers.
Right.
And it's the level of consequence that Soup is dealing with here, I think, is graver and subtler than she realizes. And
where she hasn't fully realized, she doesn't fully appreciate the magnitude of what she's dealing with here, or what she's actually trying to do. And
I'll bust someone out of the fucking cell that she's in, and definitely she'll just adjust and ask people, and then we'll just know the answers and it'll be over. It's fine. And like,
Yep.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm beginning to think the soup isn't actually a very good judge of character.
Yeah, I think that this has always been a harebrained scheme.
At
And
the
that
best.
the soup has been over her head from the first instant here, probably well before, judging by how she does not have, at least from her own seeming view of things, and from Angela's opinion of how the monastery is run, that the soup does not have control over the nuns and how things are run, and is out of the loop of what's going on. I think she is very much in over her head.
She could have just kept me in the library for the day or something.
Indeed. Well, the bishop is here now, and his arrival used to be your deadline. With him here,
Angela stroked her chin with a bony finger and gazed at the rapidly darkening sky.
let us make a pact, you and I. Forget what the superior says. She means well, but she is not equipped to handle this situation.
I don't understand.
The superior is desperate to save face in front of the bishop. Their relationship is strained, that much I know.
Is it? I mean, the bishop was...
Angela thinks so, at least.
Yep. I'm just worried that we're going to fall in the trap of now taking everything Angela says at face value because she's lampshaded it. Like, because she's called attention to it, that we're now going to, like, take everything she says at face value. You know what I mean?
She believes that if she can present him with a satisfactory... no, not just satisfactory, salacious explanation to this tragedy, he will overlook years of shoddy leadership. She is looking for accolades, for a promotion.
So what do we do differently?
Nothing. Only when we have our answer. Whether it is assurance that James was the killer, or if we discover the unthinkable and accuse one of our own. We report to the bishop ourselves.
Why?
To get the proper credit for our work, of course. Noble as her intentions might seem, I detect an undercurrent of self-satisfaction.
She also does like to fancy herself a chess master, right?
Yep.
Right? Like, she's playing the... She keeps talking about how she likes to play a few moves ahead and how... I find myself agreeing with Angela. Like, again, I want to be wary of taking what she says uncritically. But I do find myself agreeing with her assessment of the bishop. Or not the bishop, of the soup.
I shook my head. Angela had spent a lot of venom this evening, but this was too much. I do not believe the superior is that selfish.
Do you not? How can you not believe that, Hedwig? Look what she did to you for her own weird mystery game.
For the first time ever, I heard Angela laugh. It was a deeply unpleasant, mirthless squawk.
Yeah, see, exactly.
You just told me that she pulled you out of your cell against your will. You are being used. You and I are both being used.
I had no answer for this. The last bit of daylight was fading. Wind rustled over the flower bushes, and for a moment I felt like I could hear the sea.
Nothing else about our work changes. We can work separately, even. I know you might prefer that. I certainly would. And we will meet with the superior at her request. But when it is time to give the bishop an answer, we give it to him.
What could another motive be? Angela, we know, is definitely worried about who gets the next position of soup. She also has a need to like. She also wants to show off her stuff and get that promotion, right?
Yep, she thinks she ought to be in charge because she's better than everyone else. Exactly the same thing that she's accusing the superior of.
Or at a minimum, she thinks she's better than the soup.
She thinks she's better than everyone else.
She thinks she's better than
unequivocally.
everyone else?
Absolutely. That whole previous conversation one-on-one between Hedwig and her, while she's just entirely a litany of all of the faults everybody else here has, and how they all suck, and this isn't a proper monastery, and they're not proper nuns. And
Right, and how she's always going around like cataloging the things that people. So she thinks she can do a better job of it and wants to prove to the bishop that she deserves to be in charge, and trusts that we have no ambitions beyond going back in our cell.
Yep.
Or thinks that she can strong arm us out of the way. Interesting. Yeah, that fits. That fits.
Yeah, as true as whatever she accuses the superior of is, it's equally true of her.
Yep.
Like, if we are not going to go along with people because they are self-satisfied and fulfilling personal ambitions, we have no more reason to take this deal than the soups.
True.
But Hedwig will.
Hedwig will.
Because Hedwig is very credulous, as Angela remarked.
Yep.
Angela held her hand out to me. I thought about my cell and the peace those walls provided. I thought about the sheer terror I had felt when I had heard the rattle of the superior's keys and the ugly sobs I had stifled with my pillow that night. I thought about the childish rage that I had felt as I had thrown that soiled copy of Matthew from my window, and the sheer terror I had felt when I saw whoever it was outside watching me. I thought about Catherine with the sea speaking to me through the squint and how I would never, ever have a conversation like that with another soul. I grasped my handle on Angela's wrist, and she wrapped her fingers around mine. I could feel the hard leather strap of a sheath as we shook hands, and immediately regretted my decision.
This now puts me at the, if there's another victim, if somebody else dies, it's probably Angela. Very well.
Her eyes narrowed, and she looked up at the shadowy abbey wall that loomed above the garden. What is it?
Nothing. It was just a bird. Nope.
Good thing we're so fucking credulous.
Well, what now?
Business as usual. In the morning, I think I will talk to James myself. Perhaps I can get something out of him that you could not. Tonight, unfortunately, I have some work to go over with the superior. And I imagine we will be forced to entertain the bishop until he retires.
He's not staying in the hospitalum, is he? That would be rather awkward, I imagine.
I hadn't considered. Perhaps the superior will provide a bedroll and send him to the Misericorde. Anyway, what will you do next?
The others are throwing a sort of, continuation of the feast tonight in the cellars. I was told it was meant to be a sort of a wake for Catherine with a C. Angela's lips pursed ever so slightly. I had no idea that this proposed gathering was such an offensive idea to her. It sounded like a good opportunity to speak to people candidly. Perhaps I will find a new clue.
Indeed.
Sounds like you just want to party, Hedwig. Which, honestly, fine. Go get some girl. It's just like, it sounds like you just want to party.
Well, goodbye.
And with that, she left. Her shoulder bumped into mine as she passed me, and her stride looked a little less confident than usual as I watched her turn the corner at the end of the hedgerow.
Oh, she wanted to make... Okay, so someone is watching.
Yep.
And she wants to make sure that... She wants to give off the impression of being... of them not being cordial, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the shoulder bump is because she wants to seem like she was bringing Hedwig to task for something,
Yep.
not conspiring.
I sighed. The sun was still setting. I had a good while yet before I needed to appear at this controversial party. Wandered back the way we had come, past the chapel. More I wandered around the abbey. Stranger, I found the pile of debris lumped unceremoniously next to the building. The chapel itself appeared sturdy enough, so I was at a loss as to what all this loose stone was for. Gasped as I realized there was something moving atop the rubble. Black fabric draped over the broken rocks. I froze in place. Was this Eustace breaking her promise to me yet again? Or was I the first person in history to catch a ghost off guard? I squinted through the dusk, trying to decide whether or not to bolt. It turned around to face me, and I tensed. Only...
Oh, hello, Hedwig.
Oh, it's you, Margaret. You gave me quite a fright up there.
I think I already said that we need to stop meeting like this, didn't I?
She's on top of the pile of rubble?
Yeah.
Were you watching us? Was she watching us?
Does
know
the
she,
pile
like-
of rubble see over the abbey walls? It seemed like
Like we had turned a corner at some point.
Yeah, and it seemed like what Angela was looking at was not this.
Was someone either on top of or in behind a window or something? Yeah. We know Margaret likes to explore the abbey. Is there like a passage here she knows about or something, or is looking around for?
Could be. We really do need to.
It's no trouble. I'm just naturally jumpy, it turns out.
I suppose that wouldn't be a problem in a cell. There was only one way people can come at you in there.
Indeed. What are you doing up on a pile of rocks?
Oh, just taking in the sunset.
Sister Margaret, even I won't buy that one.
It was worth trying. Well, I need to get into the chapel. There used to be a way in through here, but when the clock tower collapsed, it blocked the passage.
Clock tower. Is there usually a clock tower attached to a monastery? It's strange. I'm trying to like mentally picture like a church with a big clock tower on it, and like it looks cool, but I don't think I've ever seen one like that.
Have you tried the front door?
Haha. The soup locked it for whatever reason.
To the chapel?
And the back door as well, clever clogs.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
Oh, is she trying to get back in to reset the sabotage on the portative?
Almost assuredly.
Okay. Is that all this is? That's okay. That's fine. Carry on, Margaret, as you were. Continue wrecking shit, please.
I suppose you could just pray out here instead? Or anywhere?
I don't need to pray. I need to, well...
She ceased peering at the wall of the chapel, where I presume the rubble had filled in whatever entrance she was hoping to find.
Can you keep a secret?
Not anything bad, is it?
No. Well, not really. Only a little, at worst.
Oh,
So, can you?
I sighed. There was one more on the pile. Yes, of course.
Well, as I am sure you noticed, the Superior's organ sounded a little off tonight.
Did it? She shot me a withering look.
Anyway, that might have been my fault. A little bit. It was a little bit Catherine's fault as well, but she's busy. I need to get in there and fix the problem.
What did you mean it's your fault? Sister Margaret! I remember the first conversation Margaret and I had ever had with Catherine. I thought that was just a joke. A cruel joke, but idle chatter nonetheless.
It should have stayed that way, but I fear that we might have taken things a touch too far. She looked a bit upset tonight. Oh. She looked a bit upset tonight, didn't she?
As well she should.
You'll get no argument from me. Anyway, that's why I'm up here. I'm trying to find a way in.
Why not just come clean?
Where's the fun in that? Besides, I would rather not be stuck on privy cleaning duty for the rest of the year.
It's fine, there's only like a month left. Well then.
Good point. I'll come clean on December 30th.
There you go. Why not just do it tomorrow before service or after?
That might have to be the plan, I'm afraid. But there's a good chance she'll try and play it again, and I doubt she'll maintain her composure another time.
Is it because... Isn't that what you wanted? Or did you just want her to not... Like, what was your end goal here if you didn't want to embarrass her or stop her from playing?
Probably for it not for it to go wrong at a big once-a-year thing where they're throwing a feast and the bishop shows up and everybody's there and is watching. Probably it was just to make it inoperable for regular services.
Right, because they didn't know the bishop was going to be. That's what they were that's what they were chatting about.
Yeah, they didn't know the bishop would be here. They didn't know that it would be a feast for Hedwig. They didn't know that there'd be a celebration sort of thing. So what they had expected to be like a, oh, we'll mess up the thing and she won't be able to play it at church for a couple weeks, has turned into, we accidentally caused a big scene in front of someone really important and Soup is pissed.
Right, okay, that makes more sense, yeah.
I thought hard about a way to help. I did not approve of Margaret's mischief, but was at the very least pleased to see some empathy and effort to correct her mistake. Well, what about the bells?
I don't follow.
Someone's going to ring the bell before liturgy tomorrow, surely. Whoever did it would have to unlock the door. Couldn't you get in that way? Margaret hopped down from the pile of rocks and grabbed me by the shoulders.
Hedwig, you're a genius. Someone is going to ring the bell tomorrow morning. It's going to be me.
There you go.
No, I mean, I can make that happen. I'm sure whoever got assigned bell duty this week will jump at the chance to sleep in after tonight's little party. I'll just go tell the soup that I volunteer right now.
She petted my arm and began to jog away.
See you in the cellars.
Okay, but even the soup is canny enough to understand what that means, Margaret. Margaret, you're better off just talking to whoever it is directly and being like, you know what? No, this is a reap what you sow situation. Go have fun.
Yeah.
Wait, What is a clock tower?
Oh, right. Well, a clock is a bit like, Imagine if you didn't have to ring the bells at morning, noon, and dinner yourself. It's a big machine that does all that for you.
Oh, like the animal statues by King Solomon's throne. I had no idea we had such wonders here.
Right, so that answers your question. Right. When they say clock tower, they mean like a church bell tower, a thing that would be very much common to have.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot more sense to me. And it's called a clock tower because
it is a clock.
It is a clock.
It rings the bells at set times a day.
I got in the trap of clock tower.
Thinking Big Ben.
Yeah, right. Clock tower in like the common
Yeah.
usage, right? Where you mean like a big fucking clock on it that people read. No, it's just, okay, yeah, literally the machinery that rings the bell for you at specific times so you know what time it is. Okay, that checks out. Sorry to bother you, everyone. I love our little medieval mystery book club here.
Sidebar, I was so disappointed to know that our university was just playing bell sounds over a loudspeaker in the bell tower rather than ringing the bells.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
No.
They have a bell tower. I think the bells are still in it, but they were not having someone go up and ring the bells on a daily basis.
I never watched the bells ringing there.
Yep.
And I'm just now realizing, and I never thought to consider. I feel like I've been lied to. Wow. I did not properly, it's because I wasn't properly interrogating the things I took for granted in my own life back then.
Yeah, you were just accepting what is put before you.
I was accepting what was put before me. And we can't do that anymore. That actually hurts a little bit to learn.
I mean, it makes sense. It's a chapel that they don't hold church services in with a bell tower that they don't ring bells in. Like, yeah, that all tracks.
You've been in the chapel?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about your class, but my high school class went there for graduation.
Us too.
Yeah, you too?
Yeah,
Okay.
it sucked.
Yeah,
I hated it.
We've shared this before. We went to the same high school, but we're in different years.
Yeah.
So.
And different friend groups, but like almost overlapping.
Yeah,
so that I was friends with people
this
who
is now
were
SK
friends
and
with your
Vivian
friends and vice
lore
versa.
Hour. Yeah, like we ran in different circles of friends, and we kind of knew of each other.
Yep.
But like only had like the smallest overlap between our friend groups. So never really got to know each other. And we even went to different universities our first year. It wasn't until I transferred back to one of the local universities where you had gone
Yep.
that we met and realized we had spent our entire high school time together not acknowledging each other. So fun.
Just in slightly different orbits.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
really
life.
silly, but also I kind of like it.
Yep.
Anyway, that's the end of your SK and Vivian lore for the day. Margaret looked very stern.
Yes, I suppose it is a bit like that.
It just seems a bit extravagant. I mean,
The soup was very excited about the project, but between you and me, there were a few of us who thought it was a waste of money. But she had secured a good deal on the work and wanted it built quickly.
That tracks too.
Yep, that again tracks with the soup's image of, yep, trying to make good on, trying to project a good image without really thinking things through, you know?
Yep. Normally these things are reserved for big cathedrals and cities. But you look at it now and, well, it looks like we got what we paid for in the end.
I had heard the superior thought it was a bad idea.
I'm sure she says that now.
Everyone lies constantly.
Everyone lies.
Thank you, Angela.
Constantly.
So hasn't anyone moved all the stones?
Have you tried lifting one?
A fair point.
I'm surprised you'd never come across a clock before. They're expensive, but they're not exactly new. Isn't there one in Commedia?
How do you know we have that?
Is that a thing we have?
Oh, okay, fair enough. Oh, you know, I had it confused with the play that Catherine handed us, which is, yeah, sorry. No, I was completely wrong.
What's Commedia?
Wow. You haven't read Dante.
Oh, Divine Comedy. Oh, okay.
Now that surprises me.
Now it was my turn to be uncharacteristically stern. I have not read anything that isn't biblical canon, errata, or scholarly commentary.
Listen, I really must run and catch the soup, but we'll try and catch up about this at the party, yeah? I think you'd probably like it.
I'll look forward to it.
Is the best thing about Hedwig's time is that she keeps getting new books from people to read.
And immediately being scandalized by all of them because her sole reference for what a book should be is the Bible and other books about the Bible.
Margaret grinned and then jogged off toward the superior's office.
Like, imagine if you had never read a novel or play before, and you were like the age we are now, and then for the first time, someone fucking hands you a Greek tragedy, and you're like, what the fuck, bro? This is miserable. All these people are horrible to each other. It's sad as hell. I don't understand what I'm doing reading this. It's not a book. I've read books. Books tell me how to live a good life. This didn't do that. What is it?
Oh, man. I'm trying to think of what book you would hand Hedwig that would just make her face melt.
I sighed and continued at my own pace down the path toward the cloister, where I could see the torches being lit. I headed up the stairs to the dormitory. I reasoned that if I really was going to burn the midnight oil with everyone in the cellars later, I might as well get some rest. However, the dorms were livelier than I'd ever seen them. Everyone's doors were wide open, and I could see several sisters milling about. One was on her knees, scrubbing.
It's Moira, cleaning up the ink.
I froze in the doorway. The ink.
My god, this stuff is resilient. Take up stone carving, Moira. It's just permanent. It's just as permanent and a lot less messy.
It wasn't my fault. It was like this when I got here. Oh, hello, Hedwig.
She knows we did it because we had to go to her room.
I stepped forward nervously, ready to be chastised.
I could probably mix something up that would help. Maybe not with the ink, but you wouldn't mind cleaning so much.
Darcy, I'll take a 6-pack.
The last stain remover I remember you mixing up for me burned a hole straight through my robes.
I appreciate the offer, Darcy, but
Alright, she's got low gravelly.
I think we got as much of it up as I'm going to,
I'm sorry, Moira.
Whatever for?
I must have knocked it over when I was getting fresh clothes from your dorm. I really was a nasty little rat.
Because she's making it sound like
She didn't know.
she didn't know.
So it's like, okay, there's no way I can get out of having been the one that did it, but I can at least get out of having not said anything, pretended it was fine, then come back and left it for everybody else.
Right. And also, we need to remember this is being told in retrospect by Hedwig herself.
Mm-hmm. Everybody lies constantly.
It could be Hedwig herself is lying. Maybe she did it on purpose while doing something else, and because she's the only one there, she can get away with lying about it, and as long as the outcome looks the same, we wouldn't know the difference, right?
What do we get from that being the case here, though?
I don't know, but it's been burning a hole in the back of my mind that she is telling this story, right?
Yeah.
And she is telling a story with her in it. And if she's the only witness for certain scenes, like where she's having visions or something, like there's no other way to challenge that, right? We just have to accept what she's telling us. We need to, I guess I'm just pointing out that like we need to also be wary of Hedwig the narrator, because Hedwig the narrator is also a character in this story and could also be lying constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just in the back of my mind.
I really was a nasty little rat. Miraculously, Moira chuckled.
There's no need to blame yourself. I think you would have noticed knocking a whole ink bottle over, silly.
I almost objected, but The small crowd around Eustace parted enough for me to see who the culprit everyone had agreed upon was.
A cat had just happened to get in there and... Wow.
This is a total callback to something that happened in a different visual novel. A whole scene about that.
Yep. And that's all we're going to say about that. Go play other visual novels at random until you find out which one that was.
Yeah.
You really need blocks if Catherine's gonna have a cat running around.
Actually, I just knocked my microphone. Hold on. Is that still running? Yeah, it's still running. Could read your line.
Oh, it's my line, sorry. It's not my cat. Why does everyone think it's my cat?
Eustace ignored her.
Again, and that's also a good object lesson in how what is generally considered the truth might not be true if it's someone purposely obfuscating something like Catherine obfuscating that she has a lover. Right?
It was a disaster just waiting to happen.
I keep all my bottles under the bed so nothing gets knocked over, and also for easy access.
Wow, easy.
You get it.
Eustace stood up, groaning a little as she bent her knees.
I'd keep your shoes on out here for a while. I got all the broken glass, but you never know.
Thanks so much for the help, Eustace. I did my best inside my room, but the paw prints...
Also, notice how the paw prints are walking into the ink and not out of it. As if the ink was already there when the cat walked in. I think that's the one thing that they haven't picked up on that.
Wait.
Because if you
Are
thought
the paw
about
prints leading into the ink? Must
they were.
Okay, so to me that seems like it can't be right because the paw prints are ink. Cats don't just leave paw prints. So...
Oh, that's weird.
So
What the
I think the paw prints came out of the ink, and that whatever we see is just like artistic license. That's my take, at least.
I'm going to need to roll that back because in looking at the image, I was like, the prints were walking into the puddle.
Maybe it walked in and out and in and out.
I guess. Cats
Or maybe
wander,
it's
fine.
artistic license.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It's probably something like that. Watch this be like the linchpin to the whole thing, and we're just blowing over it.
I did...
Oh, right. I already read that line.
Eustace nodded and put the brush she had been using to scour the floor back into a wooden bucket at her side. The paw prints were not gone, but they were at least faded.
Oh, Hedwig.
Oh wait, so hold on. So the cat went into her room afterwards? Was she brushing her room? Which room was she brushing? Oh no, she's scouring Moira's floor still. Okay.
You should tell Darcy about your vision.
Her what?
That.
Oh, do tell.
Hedwig and Darcy just getting absolutely turned on whatever Darcy's got and sharing visions. Darcy's got a new vision minder. This is great.
Hedwig and Darcy just taking turns seeing God on a Saturday night.
Oh man.
Perhaps it would be best if you took Hedwig into your dorm to chat about it a little more privately.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, Hedwig.
No. It's quite all right. Really, I had no reason to be upset. I had made no demands for secrecy, and under normal circumstances, I'm sure I'd be thrilled, but perhaps even a little proud were I to be brutally honest with myself. To have it be known that I had seen a vision, but this day had been such a violent emotional journey that I couldn't help but feel annoyed. Darcy, on the other hand, looked positively elated.
Yes, come with me.
Oh, well, it's Darcy and oh yeah, Darcy Hedwig time. This is great. This is the content you all crave right here.
Yep.
She beckoned me inside her room as the rest of the group dispersed. She shut the door behind her and gestured for me to sit down on the bed.
Room's floor strewn with potion bottles and shit.
Vials and stuff. Yeah.
It was hard to find a spot that wasn't covered in books, bags, tools, and containers.
This is exciting. Have you ever had a vision before?
Never in my life.
What happened?
Well,
I don't think that's true. She had the vision of the first vision of the encounter of the ghost.
But she doesn't
She doesn't think it's
that yet.
right.
Her first
I
thing
guess
was
that
like,
is
"Oh,
us,
are you still lying to me, Eustace? I saw this." And then
and
just
Eustace
kind of,
taking
Eustace
credit
being
for
like,
it after the fact. Yeah.
Well, no, it seems pretty clear. I don't think we have any reason to doubt that Eustace was a black dressed figure in the entrance, slammed the door, had a sword, played a prank. That all makes sense.
Yeah, that's the second time. Yeah.
Well, it's not a second time, right? That's the
first. We're talking about the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then everything goes black, and Hedwig sees all this fantastical imagery with beheaded goats and all that stuff.
Gotcha. So
And
like,
Eustace is like, "What? No, I didn't do that."
so the embellishment was her vision.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Well, it's rather unpleasant to tell you the truth.
Oh, they often are. I have seen a lot of gruesome things in mine.
Can we get a Darcy CG, please? We've gotten CGs of like Angela
Yeah.
and Catherine. I want a Darcy CG here.
According to Eustace, anyway.
What?
That's right. Darcy doesn't know what she. I guess we did see her having one, and Eustace did say it was like, yeah, that we've seen that one before. I guess we don't have any reason to assume Eustace would be lying about the content.
What sort of gruesome things?
Heads chopped off, stuff on fire, men with too many eyes. The list goes on.
How frightening!
I think it is worth it for the ones that are less scary. And really, the scary ones are important too, I think. They are a rich tapestry.
I think that's a very good way to look at it.
So, what did you see? No holding back. Start with before the vision, actually. What were you feeling?
She had produced a quill and paper from her little reading desk. Well, I was rather upset. I had a horrible time in the village, truth be told.
Sorry to hear it.
Oh, she does look sorry to hear it.
And I sat down in the town square. I told her everything in much more detail than I had given Eustace and Moira on the ride back up to the Abbey. It was easy to be forthcoming around Darcy compared to almost everyone else here.
Darcy, I'm gonna tell you up front here. You better not be the culprit because you're too awesome. I don't want to suspect you. I will, but I don't want to.
Wow.
SK Relatable doesn't want to suspect Darcy, but they will.
Exciting.
Is it now?
Oh, incredibly.
What could it mean?
No idea.
I'm surprised Hedwig doesn't have more of a beat of an idea of what it means. Like, as some, again, as we brought up the comments a couple episodes ago that like what she was seeing was pulled directly from parts of the Bible,
Mhm.
right? The fact that she doesn't have an idea that that's what she's pulling from is a little strange.
Oh,
Is something wrong?
no, I was hoping you might be able to help me sort it all out.
I would be happy to help, but I can't give you the answer.
I don't understand it. I wouldn't know where to begin understanding it.
Well, it is probably about God.
That's the word you capitalized still?
I suppose I had gathered that much, I think.
See, you did know where to begin after all. What do these things say to you?
I don't know.
You must know. Otherwise, you would not have seen them.
Interesting logic, but I think we'll accept it for now.
What if it's an omen? I wouldn't know then. If God is trying to tell me something, surely it would be something I would needed to know and didn't. Darcy shook her head. It was odd seeing her look so authoritative. Even in the garden, she had never commanded this sort of presence.
God would never show you anything you did not have the capacity to understand. God may not speak in words, but he understands language.
You are fascinating, Darcy.
How else would he communicate with us now and the Israelites then? The Jews and the Romans. How would he reach the heathens in the east? Or the bloody French? God showed Hildegard a shape of light and let her conclude it was a map of the cosmos. He even sent Moses a burning bush before he spoke plainly.
And he sent me a vomiting dog?
That's very funny.
To be fair, it wasn't specifically a vomiting dog. It was a dog
Eating its own vomit
Eating its own
over and over
vomit.
again.
And then,
in
yeah,
a
like-
way that's a direct allusion to a biblical verse.
Exactly.
Perhaps he is yet to speak plainly to you. Or perhaps he already is.
She emphasized this point with a dramatic gesticulation. I wasn't sure whether to be amused or frustrated. Do you understand any of the visions you've seen?
Not entirely. If only Catherine were here.
Which one?
The dead one.
Okay. I can't help you with that one.
She understood hers very quickly. With my help, of course. Which gives me the utmost confidence that I can help you.
Do we know Catherine had, with a C, had visions? Had we heard that before?
I feel like Eustace mentioned it in passing at one point in the past
Okay.
couple episodes, but we don't know details, I don't think, at all.
Okay. Either way, it's good to have that confirmed from a second source.
Yeah.
I guess that's going to be the real problem now, is like tracing back stuff we know to be like, who told us this? Have we heard it from multiple people, or are we relying on one source that might have an agenda about this? That's going to be fun.
I also, something that I want to pause and note is interesting.
By all means, the floor is yours.
I like that Darcy's logic, even if it's not necessarily tenable from a non-religious perspective,
Right.
it in some ways still rings out that if the visions people are seeing are just some sort of hallucination coming from within your brain, then it indeed came from something in there, and there's some way or other something that's causing it, something that you can understand or that led to it, or something about it.
You know what it is?
What?
Somnium rules. It's Somnium rules. You can't have there can't be something that you're dreaming up that just was invented whole cloth. They're made from elements that you know about, which again makes sense with Hedwig, because the elements are biblical passages or her understanding of the nature of God from reading Aquinas. Yeah, that checks out.
But I also think that it even is not even just here are the fictional rules of this setting. It's just a thing that, people don't just suddenly have an episode of psychosis that wasn't brought on by something, and then the things they see are completely untethered from anything about their mind, their thoughts, the events.
No,
around
sorry,
them.
I didn't mean to say it would. I
know. I know that you didn't mean that.
Oh, okay.
I just want to emphasize that it's not just that.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
not just we're accepting this set of religious rules as describing what they're talking about. It's not just we're accepting this is a set of given rules for this setting that acts as the groundwork.
Right.
It's something that we could reach on our own by just deducing, okay, what if we don't believe that Hedwig and Darcy are really seeing these things and that they're really happening, but still, there has to be a reason why they are and how they are seeing these things. And from that, we can derive meaning of some sort.
Yep.
Indirectly.
Yep. Full agreement. You will get no argument from me on that point.
I would appreciate that.
I am yours.
She's got the 3 lips, I just noticed.
Yeah, she's constantly
She's
doing
got the
that.
cat face. Yeah.
How?
Say that again.
She's not doing the face as soon as we called her out on it.
Oh.
I must think on it.
Oh, of course. There really is no great rush.
Thinking face. I love her thinking face.
Oh, that's a great thinking face.
She scrunched up her face and started stroking her chin, and I realized she meant to start thinking right away. I stood up and bowed my head. My thanks, Darcy. She nodded gently. I left to retire to my own room.
Darcy just idle posed, thinking hard in her room for the next 4 hours.
Yeah, and 4 hours later, she opens her eyes and starts talking to Hedwig and is like, oh, Hedwig, where did you go?
Where did you go?
I was busy thinking. I couldn't be doing other things. You know how it is.
What? The crowd that had surrounded the Inks village had dispersed. Only Moira remained leaning against her door, looking more exhausted than I'd ever seen her.
Any luck?
Oh, we're going to keep at it.
Good, good.
She looked pensive and preoccupied. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's no great loss.
You sure about that? You're looking off to the side there as you say that.
I can always ask the superior to send away for more. I just worry that damned cat is going to cause more trouble elsewhere.
Oh, is this the one that I... Yeah, this is the one that I think in an earlier episode said it sounded like a Godspeed track. It sounds like Dead Flag Blues a little bit.
To me, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking like explosions in the sky.
No, this is Dead Flag Blues.
Huh.
This is absolutely Dead Flag Blues, Gods. I'll play it for you after we're done here. But
I know Dead Flag Blues.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear. Yeah, we'll give it a get. But I can hear a little bit explosions. Ooh. Sorry, I'm just gonna stop and listen to this for... Yeah, that's good. What's the name of this track? I need to find it on the soundtrack so I can... McCain. All right, I'm gonna put that one on my favorites. We can listen to it more.
I'm sure we have some spare ink in the library.
Oh, I might take you up on that. Although you might have to ask Eustace. I know she can be a bit particular about supplies and so on.
It can't hurt to ask.
No, it can't, can it? You're right. Sorry to be so much of a downer.
She fixed her gaze on the faint paw prints on the floor again. Eustace had clearly done her best to scour the stone, but there was still a visible trail leading out of the dorms to the landing. Is it really so much of a nuisance?
It sounds silly, but I don't trust it. I'm old-fashioned, I suppose.
She sighed heavily.
It was very cute once upon a time, but once it grew up...
I had no idea it had been a problem for that long.
We don't get the usual vermin up here in the hills. It's far too cold. Whoever brought it here just wanted a pet, I think. Another of this abbey's great mysteries.
What are some of the others? I caught myself too late to keep this rather stupid inquiry to myself. I'm convinced my habit of answering every statement with a question will be the death of me.
That's an interesting line to add a laugh after. Hedwig. Future Hedwig, how you doing?
Luckily, Moira didn't find this question odd.
Where to start? Who paid for it? Who still pays for it? Is it haunted? Yes.
Darcy!
Well, Darcy, and my spacebar won't work. There it is.
Darcy had emerged from her room without either of us noticing.
Do you really think so, Darcy? I know so. I have thought a lot about it recently, and I finally know for certain.
Fascinating.
Hedwig can vouch for me. I was thinking very hard.
Okay, no. This is fascinating to me. I am so curious what Darcy's train of thought here is. This is...
Especially because, like...
I thought about it for a while, and now I know for certain. On the face of that, that is such a ballsy thing to say about something. Like, I have merely thought about this, and now I can claim it with certainty.
It's also something that... It's a bold claim from a religious perspective. Ghosts aren't in the Bible.
Yeah!
So... It's not something like, oh, we are predisposed to accept the nature of this explanation. It's one that a devout Catholic would feel...
Wait, there is one ghost.
Yeah, there's the Holy Ghost, and there's saints and stuff, and there's people in the afterlife, but that's not the same as ghostly apparitions that wander around causing mayhem.
Right, that's the difference from your everyday occult spirits, whatever.
Although maybe if Darcy means like a demon or something, maybe that's something that would be religiously acceptable.
Well, let's see what she's got.
I hope not.
Darcy shuffled past us, leaving Moira looking a little worried. I wanted to say something comforting to Moira, but the evil sigil carved into the walls loomed into the back of my mind. It's becoming harder to disagree with Darcy's assessment. I was curious what had prompted her escalation from a little to very haunted, and thought about following her to ask, but Moira kept talking.
That night on the landing, when you said you saw a ghost, I know Eustace claimed credit, but the more I hear from the others and the more I see myself, I sometimes wonder.
If it's any comfort, I I don't know what to believe about it either.
What was it like?
Terrifying. And when everyone assumed it was a practical joke, I felt very small.
I would too. I must apologize for throwing my lot in with them.
I thought Darcy moved along. She's still here listening to this conversation. We're just ignoring her.
It's no trouble. I can scarcely believe it myself. It was against everything I know, everything I hold true. How can I judge anyone for dismissing my account?
You are too forgiving.
You did not see it. You have nothing to apologize for.
That's not true, actually.
Well, what do you mean?
Remember in the village when I whispered to Eustace? I was telling her that we had to stall so we wouldn't get back to the abbey too early.
That's what we suspected.
Yep. Since everyone was getting ready for the feast, which was meant to be a surprise.
Well, it was a lovely surprise. So how could I be upset? Moira smiled. Her eyes were a little damp.
I felt horrid for keeping you there against your will.
I felt horrid being there, but I think at the end this day ended up being rather good.
Really? That's a relief.
She wiped her eyes with her sleeve and then stood up straight.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. We've got a wake to attend, remember?
Right. I'm gonna go lie down for a little while to recuperate.
You should. It's been a long day, and it's going to be a long night.
Of course. She smiled at me and then stretched her arms above her head, letting out a huge yawn.
I think I might do the same. Knock on my door if you get up before I do, won't you?
Of course. We went into our separate rooms. I think I fell asleep the moment my eyes shut.
And that's where we're going to call it for this sode.
All right.
I think we only have like 1 or 2 more episodes left in volume 1 here, so
I wonder what's going to happen at the wake. It feels like
maybe more at the rate we keep stopping and having our little digressions, which, again, not going to apologize for. You're the one that came to the book club channel. You get to deal with it. We'll see you all next time, everyone. Bye.
Peace.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.